Hello and welcome to part 3 of my mini tour of Scotland with an EV towing a caravan. In this video I'm going to talk about charging the EV, the speed and the cost. Right, Dougal, you're going to come and join me? Come on, Dougs. Oh dear, it's a hard life being a Dougal. So we left you in Tobermory on the Isle of Mull. We just detached the caravan to charge the car. That went fine. And now we are at Killiechronan Campsite on the Isle of Mull. I was last here about 12 years ago with the Airstream. And I took a picture that I used in my talk at the Motorhome Caravan and Camping Show at February's NEC to show the kind of beautiful campsite you can have, and there's no need to go wild camping, so responsible camping. And I thought I'd try and recreate that scene with the EV and this caravan, and unfortunately the weather has not played ball at all. It has been really rough. And last night was quite rough. The caravan's been shaking around. I didn't get the beachside pitch either because the ground's so soft. It's been churned up by what looks like some very heavy motorhomes. So all in all, hasn't really quite gone to plan. But never mind, we're gonna pack up now, get the ferry to Oban from Craignure. So we're gonna do a bit more of a mainland, main road kind of a test now for the car. So let's go. So as we enjoy the drive from Killiechronan to Craignure, let's talk about charging the EV. First of all, the speed of charging. Not all chargers are equal, and speeds vary wildly depending on if you're charging at 1 kilowatt or 220 kilowatts. There are two kinds of charging current, AC and DC. AC charging is slower and kinder to the battery. The maximum AC charger I've seen is 22 kilowatts, but the EV6 will only draw 11 kilowatts from this. DC charging is at a much higher current and is known as rapid charging or even ultra rapid charging. This kind of charging is less kind to the battery, and the speed of charge tails off after 80%, so it is good practice to only use a rapid charger up to 80% of the battery. On both AC and DC, you would only charge a battery to above 80% if you are about to set off on a long drive. Batteries are fine with being fully charged, they just don't like being stored at over 80%. My EV6 has a 77 kilowatt-hour battery. Charging from 10% to 80% will therefore consume 55 kilowatt hours. So if you're charging at a rate of 1 kilowatt, to reach 55 kilowatt hours would take 55 hours. If you're charging at 2.2 kilowatts, which is the maximum I can get my EV6 to charge from a domestic 13 amp socket, that would take 25 hours. In my experience of using the public charging network in rural Scotland, so far the fastest DC chargers I have used all seem to deliver about 43 kilowatts. That takes about 1 hour and 15 minutes to do the full 55 kilowatt hour charge. But more and more ultra rapid chargers are being rolled out in more populated places, and the EV6 can support charging of up to 225 kilowatts. This means you can charge from 10% to 80% battery in 18 minutes, about the time it takes to use the loo and grab a coffee. In my previous video, I talked about the range when towing, so I shall leave a link to that video in the description below. We'll talk about the cost of charging shortly. Meanwhile, back in the video, we're boarding the CalMac Ferries Isle of Mull in Craignure, bound for Oban. Built in Glasgow in 1988, the Isle of Mull was cut in two and lengthened by 5 metres in her first year of service. This gives the vessel a gross tonnage of 4,719 tonnes, and she can carry 951 passengers and 70 cars. En route to Oban, we catch sight of the MV Isle of Lewis on her way from Oban to Castle Bay in the Isle of Barra, which at 5 hours is one of the longest non-stop CalMac crossings in existence. Our crossing today on the Isle of Mull is a mere 45 minutes. After arrival at Oban, it is a mere 7-mile drive to North Ledaig Caravan Park. North Ledaig, or North Ledaig if you would rather, is a private site that is affiliated to the Caravan and Motorhome Club. I'll leave a link to their website in the description below this video so you can check out prices of pitches throughout the season. As you can see, every pitch has a sea view. Each pitch has a 10 amp supply, and I checked with the owners, Peter and Katie, about their EV policy. As of May 2022, Peter said, "You have 10 amps and how you choose to use it is up to you." I will talk more about charging on sites in the next video. As we had 10 amps, I set the car's charger to draw 6 amps and plugged it into the Caravan. Be aware you must always plug into the Caravan and never directly into the bollard. 6 amps delivered about 1.2 kilowatts to the car, leaving 4 amps for the fridge, battery charging, laptop etc. in the Caravan. For cooking and heating, I used LPG. There's a disused railway running through the site, part of the Sustrans National Route 78 from Oban to Inverness via Fort William. You can walk or cycle to Oban, or as we did, to the nearby village of Benderloch. It took less than 20 minutes to walk to the lovely Ben Laura Cafe and Bookshop, and across the road is a great walk up the hill where you can enjoy views across to Mull or even just down onto the Caravan site. Returning to North Ledaig, we were treated to a glorious sunset.
We're all hitched up now, ready to leave North Ledaig, north of Oban, and I was really hoping for better weather for our next leg of our tour, which is to Bunree Caravan and Motorhome Club site. It's only about 35 miles, but obviously because of the rain and the bad conditions, we're going to have to put the lights on, the wipers, but it'll be interesting to see what we get on a main two-way road for the next 35 miles. So let's go. So, let's go. Goodbye, North Ledaig. Thank you for a lovely stay.
Yeah, windscreen wipers on. But one thing I do love, I just love the stress-free silence of the EV.
As we drive to Bunree on this Dreich day, let's talk about the cost of charging using the public charging network. While researching the charging policies of caravan sites, I've opened up a bit of a can of worms, so I'll leave charging on caravan sites to the next video. So far on this trip, we've used public chargers at Cillach in North Uist, Ledaig and Tobermory. At these stations we paid 24 pence, 30 pence and 26 pence per kilowatt hour respectively. So if we take those three, and we'll take an average of 27 pence per kilowatt hour for our calculations. Later on in this trip, I charge on site at a lower rate and I actually find a proliferation of free chargers. But I think we all realise that the days of free charging are numbered, so we will stick to this figure for now of 27 pence per kilowatt hour. The cost to do a 100-mile trip while solo and getting 3.8 miles to the kilowatt hour at 27 pence per kilowatt hour would be £7.10. To do the same trip in my old Nissan Navara, from which I used to get 35 miles a gallon, at the current price of £1.80 a litre, which is £8.22 a gallon, that would be £23.49 for 100 miles, compared to the £7.10 in the EV. So solo, the EV is doing the 100 miles for about a third of the cost of diesel. Doing the same trip towing and getting 1.8 miles to the kilowatt hour in the EV and 25 miles per gallon in my Navara, the cost would be £15 for the EV and £32.88 for diesel. So that's dropped from about a third to just under half of the cost of diesel. These figures are based purely on personal experience, and so far this does not include dual carriageways or motorways with the EV. I would expect that gap to further narrow at higher speeds, especially as the Navara was towing the more aerodynamic Airstream. But like I say, my costs per kilowatt hour dramatically reduced later in the trip after using free chargers, so it can work both ways. As we approach the end of our short journey today, it's only 35 miles from North Ledaig to Bunree, we get to the Ballahoolish Bridge. This was built in 1975, and before then you had to get a ferry across the straits here. During this journey, despite the bad weather, we've still returned 1.8 miles to the kilowatt hour towing the Caravan.
Right, I think we're going to leave that there for this week in this video. I hope you enjoyed that. Now please do bear in mind I'm only human, and while every effort has been taken to make sure that the information in this video is correct, please do check the description below this video, and any errors or omissions will be addressed in the description below this video. Please come back and join us next time, where I will show you around the beautiful Caravan and Motorhome Club site at Bunree. We take a very special trip on a steam train that I've been longing to take for years. We see some incredible wildlife. We tow the Caravan 80 miles through Glencoe, and we see how that affected the battery of the car in the real world. And we leave the EV in storage for a whole week while I travel south to see my family,
and we'll see how that impacted the battery leaving the car in storage for a week. So please come back and join us then. I'd like to say a massive thank you to the incredibly talented artist Cameron MacKay, who's kindly provided all the music to this video today from his brand new EP and his brand new single. So please check out Cameron's website. I will leave a link in the description below this video. He is an incredibly talented musician and artist, so please do check out and support his work. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, I'd be really grateful if you could give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe if you don't subscribe already, and also if you're on social media or forums, I would be massively grateful if you would share this video in your social pages or on your forum. This video has been completely self-financed. The whole trip is self-financed, so if you're feeling generous, feel free to buy us a coffee. I'll leave a link to the Buy Me a Coffee page in the description below this video. But thank you so much for joining us today for this trip through Scotland in our EV, towing a caravan. And it just leaves me to say, folks, from Dougal and from me, thanks for tuning in. There, are you having a good old time on our tour, Dougal? Are you really having a great time? Are you excited about this trip? Are you excited about the technology and towing with an EV? Are you enthused? Are you... He never smiles. Dougal, you could look a bit more animated, a bit more excited, a bit more enthused. Nah.